So I had a video about the Miami Dolphins coaching search. I talked about Jim Harbaugh and that rumor that will not go away, no matter how much people seem to beat over the head that it doesn't seem plausible, along with some discussion about Mike McDaniel. Ready to drop it. Then this bombshell hits. Brian Flores is suing the Dolphins, the Broncos, the Giants, and the National Football League for a bevy of different reasons. I know he's suing the Broncos, the Giants, and the league for racial hiring practices. Suing the Dolphins for, we'll talk about that here in a few minutes, but I swear to God, in terms of the Dolphins side of things, it's never a dull moment with this fucking team. I swear to God. I wish they were as explosive on the field as they were off of it. It's never boring, ever, with this team. But I'm just going to briefly touch on what he's going against the league for. The funniest part of this was he dropped texted that Bill Belichick sent to him where he confused the Bryans. He was getting sending Flores congratulatory texts about getting the Giants job when he was really meaning to send it to Brian Daboll. Man, the old ball coach is having a shitty month. He's had a shitty 24 hours, really. I mean, first it's his greatest player ever, Tom Brady, retires. Doesn't even give so much as a scant thank you, coach, to Belichick. Then he gets completely dragged for confusing Brian Flores with Brian Daboll. By the way, I forgot to mention 3 weeks ago or less, he gets drugged behind a woodshed and his Patriots get the piss kicked out of him by the Bills in the playoffs. Yeah, it hasn't been a good calendar month plus for the old ball coach. But as for the lawsuit, hey, God bless him for it. In all sincerity, God bless him. He's willing to tackle something he feels this strongly about. I'm willing to bet he probably will never get a head coaching job again. Because if you take on the Shield, chances are you get alienated. Now, one thing I find interesting about this, on page 46 or 47 of the lawsuit, he drops Houston and their mistreatment of David Culley, how they only gave him 1 year and the deck was stacked against Culley and they fired him. Yet, what I find puzzling about it is that Brian Flores interviewed for that very vacancy not once but twice, conducting his second interview less than 24 hours ago. So he felt so strongly about how they treated Culley, an African-American gentleman, but he interviewed for the job twice. That's where I find this whole ordeal a little bit puzzling, where he's going against Houston. But I digress. Like I said, he feels strongly about this to where he's willing to sacrifice his coaching future, and I'm not just talking as a head coach. He will not coach again in the NFL after this. I wish him well. I hope that he accomplishes what he sets out to do and get some, disparity. Get this, something he feels strongly about worked on. And I'm not going any further into details because, like I said, I'm not turning this channel political. I really won't. That being said, let's talk about what he's suing the Dolphins for. In this claim, he's stating, first things first, that in 2019, he offered $100,000 per loss for every loss the Dolphins had. Basically, paid them to tank because he wanted to wind up with a very high draft pick, believed to be the number 1 overall pick. And I know everybody shits and pisses and lifts their leg on Tua. Let's not forget, guys. Let's not forget. Before Joe Burrow mania swept college football and he had a historic season for the ages, it was tank for Tua. Pepperidge Farms remembers. But I digress. That was apparently one of the big things. The other story that he is suing the Dolphins for is that allegedly they had tampered with a quarterback who was under contract for another team. Happened around 2019 and 2020. Now, there's been some speculation that it's Tom Brady. There's been some speculation that it's Deshaun Watson. I'm going to say that it might have been a little bit of both, because that Deshaun Watson story is one that another one like the Jim Harbaugh story that won't go away, and I think there's some truth behind Watson. I mean, we had heard from many, many verifiable sources that Stephen Ross wanted Watson bad. So I'm going to say there might be some validity behind this, that Watson was definitely a big-time player, and that might be the player who was under contract. And it all sort of seemed funny that Watson wanted out of Houston. So those are the stories that are hitting the Miami Dolphins right now in terms of this lawsuit. People online are jumping on there and saying that this is going to be the straw that broke the camel's back, that all this news is going to be what causes the league to intervene, and they're going to make Stephen Ross sell the team. Don't hold your breath. All right? Don't hold your breath. Look, Daniel Snyder has had some absolutely salacious shit dropped on him. Far worse than this, okay? And this isn't good, okay? If this is proven factual, this is not good at all. And the Dolphins will be hit with some pretty hefty fines and some pretty hefty regulations. They'll probably lose some draft picks. But Daniel Snyder still owns the football team, Commanders, whatever the fuck they're going to be called here in 24 hours. And there's been no talks of him having the team taken from him. If what he was hammered with wasn't enough for the NFL to step in and force him to sell, this won't be enough for them to step in and force Stephen Ross to sell. But like I said, man, it's never a dull moment with this fucking team. Ever. I just wish I wish the on-field product was as explosive as the shit we hear that goes on off of it. I really do. But again, news just hitting the wire. Former coach Brian Flores suing the Dolphins for, amongst other things, tampering with a player under contract, quarterback believed to be either Tom Brady, Deshaun Watson, or both. Also, paying to tank up to $100,000 per loss. Also suing the NFL for racist hiring practices. I wish him well in that avenue. I really do. That's it. So I'm probably going to drop this video discussing Mike McDaniel, Jim Harbaugh, all that fun stuff later. I was going to drop that first, but man, this is too big of a bombshell to put to the back burner, because it does involve the Dolphins, and some things are bigger than regurgitating talk about who the next coach is going to be. God knows there's enough channels that are hammering that shit to death. But I'll be putting that video up soon. So until next time, I'm JP. Talk to you soon.